Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, to this edition of T3PO Live. Let me see if I can get a sound effect going right here. Oh, here we go.
May I have your attention, please?
There we go. That's the one. That's the one. Thank you so much for tuning in here. Looks like we're a little early while the pro show is actually still going on. But hey, you know what? We'll go ahead and get the water warm for you guys, so that you can go ahead and start shuffling in here, and that way we can have a smooth transition into this show right here. So let's go ahead and bring on the panel right here. We have Barry Place 28. I don't know why he's not showing up. There you go. That's the one. There, I'm still getting used to the YouTube thing, guys. Sorry about that. Mia Monkey, hello there. How you doing? First one to come.
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on again.
Absolutely, Bob. What have you been having? What do you got going on your channel over there at Barry Place 28, the fine blogger sphere over there?
Lately I've been covering the Main Street Windows in May, and so I will be covering that again tomorrow night. So if you guys are up for it, come join me. I usually cover the beginning of the stream before I hit the park and ride all the fun rides. Obviously, tomorrow night's a big night because it's probably the last night I'll be able to do the Mark Twain around Rivers of America, because this thing called Fantasmic is coming back this Friday, the 24th of May. So definitely come hang out with me and join the fun.
Yes, Fantasmic is coming back. Let's see if we can put this on screen right here. There we go, right there. Via Mice Chat right here, Disneyland update. Double the powder and shorten the fuse. If you know the Fantasmic that has played at Disneyland since 1992, you'll know that line from Captain Hook, and it looks like that segment is confirmed to be coming back, along with some extra magic there. We can see right here that we were talking about Fantasmic actually last show, and so might as well give viewers a little bit of an update on what is going on over there. We've got a lot of stuff that Disney has been I don't know, producing in terms of media and output and so forth. Oh, there's Space Day 2000 Pro Show going late as usual. Yeah, I know. Well, it's Pro. What are you gonna do? Pro is allowed to go as late as he wants. No problem at all. You're gonna flood in here soon. Have hope. Yeah, don't worry, Space Dave. I have no problem right there. Don't worry, it's going to be all right. We have plenty of stories to cover before the main show here, so no problem at all. That is for sure. Everything you need to know about Fantasmic's return to Disneyland. So the extra magic stuff looks good. No 45-foot tall dragon. However, I have to be careful about how I release this information, but I can confirm that one is being developed, and that's all I can say. I can't say anything more than that. But I can tell you right now, it won't be in this state for very long. However, the big news I think a lot of people are excited for when the show makes its return is that the Peter Pan and Captain Hook segment, as it says right here, replacing the Pirates of the Caribbean segment that replaced Peter Pan and Hook in 2017, is coming back. So I think a lot of people are very excited. Kojo Dragon, what is going on right here? Ken Reinhardt, I'm not here. Yeah, well, it's you're not the only one, but that's okay. That is completely fine right there. Bob, how do you feel about Fantasmic coming back? How do you feel about the show in general? And then I want to ask you about these dinner packages.
Oh, yes, we definitely need to talk about those dinner packages. So, first of all, I'm excited that Fantasmic's coming back. It's been gone for a very long time, and obviously, it'll be great to have that show. In between the different fireworks. I love Fantasmic. I think it's a wonderful show. Sorry to see that Murphy is not coming back in his previous iteration, but understandable, obviously. I got to tell you, I'm excited to see Peter Pan coming back, because the thing is, look, I like, Pirates of the Caribbean, and it was nice, but I don't know, Peter Pan kind of had that flair and a lot of fun and imagination to it when that was part of Fantasmic. So the fact that it's coming back, I think, has a lot of people really, jazzed and excited about it. So I'm excited as well. And it's going to be fun to be able to see that and sit along the rivers of America and see this wonderful show. So it's going to be great. But as you mentioned, we definitely have some dining packages that we can talk about here, because there's multiple levels of dining packages for different restaurants and different seating areas too.
Yes, there are a lot of different ways to see this show, and it's much to the chagrin of fans of this show who have really made this thing a I don't know, this event that you kind of have to see when you're in the park on that night, right? Like, a lot of regulars go there. They'll take advantage of a lot of the nighttime entertainment spectaculars that go on, especially in the summer. And Fantasmic is definitely one of them, along with the fireworks and so forth. So the fact that they're putting a lot of the seating behind paywalls is not great. That's no good right there. So let's get into it just a little bit. Fantasmic dining packages want to make sure that you get a great spot for the show without hours of waiting. A Fantasmic dining package may be for you. They start at $30 per person and include a 3 or 4 course meal plus a reserved viewing section. Returning restaurants are Blue Bayou and Riverboat Terrace in New Orleans Square, but Rancho del Zocalo in Frontierland is joining the party for the first time. Previously, that was at Hungry Bear, and I think, Bob, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think this is because Hungry Bear is currently not available, right? It's behind construction walls as attached to the Splash Mountain redo.
It's not attached to walls right now. I mean, walls are in front of the walk area going down towards Winnie the Pooh, but it's actually not blocked at the moment. But rumor is that they're going to be, working on it. So maybe that's part of the case. But also, I think they're trying to do some different food options. Because if you think about it, you got, your American style type of food, for the Blue Bayou, as well as, the Riverboat Terrace. And then now you're bringing in the, Mexican food for Rancho del Zocalo. So it just brings a different type of food option. And I love Rancho del Zocalo. My daughter loves that place. So we go there all the time. So I think it's a nice way for them to do it. Plus, if you notice, it's the lowest on the scale, and we're going to get to that as far as price wise and probably seating wise. But it's at least it's a new option, and I'm glad that they have several different options and not just a couple.
Yes, I like that they have several different options and several different price points. I think my my hesitation lies with the fact that that we are locking this stuff behind paywalls at all, at least to the extent that we are, right? So like the seating area and how much they actually block off. Now I understand we went over the last show that they opened that up. I think after the second show, after a certain point. In order to fill those viewing areas up. I get that, I understand that, but man, it just doesn't look great when you're trying to stake out a place for the show, even hours early, and well, you just can't access certain areas along the river's edge. That is a disappointment for me. Rancho being added into the mix is good. They are preserving that value option. And by the way, I'm saying that we have a pro raid going on. I just saw that. Oh, hey, and the redirect work. I just, I was monitoring on my other device, and well, now I'm watching myself. So there you go. That works. Hello there, everybody. 80s man. Josh Hammond. Oh, theme park casual. Oh my goodness gracious! Everybody's in here. That is fantastic. Hello there. Welcome. We're just talking about Fantasmic a little bit right here. That it's coming back. That's coming back with enhanced magic. Obviously no Murphy, but that some of the stuff is locked behind these paywalls, and I don't like it. Now, if this is the only way, I'm sorry. If you're only visiting for like one day and you really want to see the show, at least you have an option. But again, though, this is a regulars type of park right here. I don't know. Not super excited about this, but now with everybody here, Bob, we have a couple of stories that we got to hit. Do you want to hit them?
Yeah. Are you done talking about Fantasmic? Because we didn't even go over the prices and stuff. Or
well, we can go over some of the prices here for sure. So Rancho starts at 30, right?
35, I think.
35. Riverboat Terrace, 45. And then Blue Bayou is the most expensive option, obviously.
So actually, Riverboat Terrace is 55 for the standard.
Oh, 55. Okay.
So actually, by the way, they have a premium and a standard package for Blue Bayou and for Riverboat Terrace. They only have one package for the actual. What is it here for Rancho del Zocalo? So, and if you see real quick, since we're starting at the bottom here, $35, that's for lunch or dinner, your choice. And you get your choice between, 11 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. for lunch and 3:30 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. for dinner. Obviously, you've got a limited menu that you can choose from there. But again, it's just a 3-course meal with a standard package, and you do get viewing for Fantasmic. Now, I'm assuming it's just a off to the side viewing, possibly, or even sitting on the ground. But that's what they're doing there. And then if you look up, sorry, because I'm on the site as well.
Yes,
you're on a different site, are you? Or no, you're on.
Yes, I'm on my shit right here. I like the visuals.
Oh, gotcha. Well, I'm on the official site. So
sure.
the dining package is $55 for the standard. For the Riverbell Terrace, and then you do have a premium that goes up to $89. Obviously, the premium gives you a 3-course meal as well, but you get some other choices to choose from, like pot roast, mashed potatoes, and a platter of fried chicken or brisket. Compared,
and that gets you seating on the veranda out there, doesn't it?
Correct, it does.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so, and it does give you seating. Now, this one, the premium one, gives you seating at the tables across the way.
Right.
So that's kind of cool. One of the things that we were talking about, I was with Theme Park Casual in Corning, California last night, and we were talking about on our podcast about how, how is that going to look, and are people able to see, across, because obviously people are going to be walking by, but you should be able to see, okay. But at least you have a seating area at a table for the premium for Riverbell Terrace, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, then, I think that is pretty cool. I will say this: some of that viewing is not the greatest, so it really depends on which table you're assigned at. But in general, at least you're getting something for that price right there. This is why I'm a little bit hesitant about the deluxe view, viewing package that you get at Blue Bayou, because for $89 you don't necessarily get table seating like that, like you experience at Riverbell Terrace. So it's just kind of for that price, it kind of depends on what you're looking to get. Now you do get some awesome seats from what I understand from Blue Bayou, like right at the front of the river, which is great. But again though, it's catch as catch can with both these options.
Yep. And of course, with Blue Bayou, you get a 4-course meal
Right.
that includes lunch or dinner. And of course, they've got surf and turf and their Oscar style filet mignon, blackened ribeye, and bourbon shrimp, gumbo, the heirloom tomato and the watermelon salad, and strawberry and pistachio salad. So it's a good package, but it is a little pricey, $89. And I'm sure with that, you are definitely going to get a decent seating area for that. The one thing that I did want to bring up, though, is that apparently they're not letting people bring in cushions. So before you could bring in cushions and sit down, and they're not allowing that. And I know that last time Lou had showed us, some of the cushions that he got from Fantasmic back in the day. They're not giving those out, and from what we understand, and they're not letting people bring in cushions to sit down. So that's a little interesting. More to come on that, obviously, but yeah. I will tell you, look, while it does seem like they're kind of doing this paywall thing, I mean, Rivers of America is huge, and you've got a wide area to view Fantasmic from. Yes, there's going to be a lot of people coming back, and this is going to be a crazy busy weekend, so I'm sure there's going to be a little chaos. But I've always been able to find a fairly decent area to view Fantasmic because you can view it off to the side. You don't have to view it right from the front. Now, I know Lou always says, well, find out where the cast is that are, watching and look from their view. That's always a great thing to do. And it is, if you can do that. But you don't always have to. You can always find some really good places, around the Rivers of America. And as we talked about, last time, unlike the stadium seating that we have over in Walt Disney World, you actually can walk around and go to where you want to go. Yes, there are some areas that are roped off and whatnot, and you can't sit in certain areas. But given the fact that you've got people sitting over at Riverbell Terrace in the tables and everything, that gives you plenty of opportunity, to let other people go in different areas as well. So I don't think they're trying to do a complete paywall and cover everything up. I think that they just have it in certain areas. And here's the other thing to remember too, just like they do with the parades, if they have more room, they actually let people sometimes go into those areas that people had paid for these dining packages. So sometimes you get lucky and you end up in this nice area, and you didn't have to pay the $89 or the $55 or the $35. So it's, not always a bad thing. There's some good things, about this, even though they're, this is just an option for people if they want to do the dining package. And yes, they're roped off in certain areas, but you can get around at Disneyland at least. So that is a positive.
Well, I just, like I said, I'm uncomfortable with that. They did this, obviously in the years preceding this one, obviously, and I don't know. The amount of areas that they rope off for this is a little bit disconcerting, and we know that the demand will be so high initially. Those things will be flooded out. We'll see how it goes. We'll see how Disney adjusts all this, and I'm sure I agree with you, Bob. I think they'll let people in, but this used to be first come first serve for so many years, and it's interesting because this nighttime spectacular dates back to 1992, like I said before at the top of the show, when the originally the name of this entertainment spectacular was originally going to be Imagination. That's why you have the Imagination in part of the score at the top of the show right there. But obviously they couldn't trademark that, so they went with Fantasmic. I think Jack Lindquist has a good story on this and how they were trying to figure out the name and so forth, and going over with Michael Eisner, and he was like, fantastic, Fantasmic, all of that. Great stuff right there. And then they had the marketing snafu where they had the Ignite the Night tag on the marketing materials for this show. And if you remember your history around 1992, well, that's when the LA riots were. So they had to quickly drop that immediately. because it turns out that Ignite the Night meant different things at around that time. So, it's a great history. A lot of people, attend this show quite regularly, and it's great to see. Like I said, I do have confirmation that something is in the works in terms of a Murphy replacement. That's all I can say. And we will see how this story actually develops right here. But I would be remiss if we didn't actually mention that, oh my goodness gracious, everybody's in the chat, everybody's having fun, everybody's like, they're coming off of the pro show on a high, it seems like, and we just have so much support right here. So I'll get to some chats right here just off the top of the show. Let's see right here. We have AWM Trends Entertainment TV with a $1.99 super chat. Thank you so much. The floodgates continue. Here from the pro show. Yeah, exactly. We have plenty of people attempting to come on in and join on in on the fun. So thank you so much. AWM Trends Entertainment TV. $4.99 super chat again right here. Paywalls. I'm so infuriated that I paid $500 more for a pass, and a third of the park has been closed all year. Yeah, this has been particularly frustrating, and I think this is why sales for the Magic Keys haven't necessarily sold out, because, well, a lot of stuff is closed at around this time, right? So they've been doing work on Fantasmic, obviously, after the Murphy fire, right? But that's affected a lot of the river. Splash Mountain has been undergoing its reimagination into, Tiana's Bayou Adventure. So obviously you have a lot of construction walls around there, and now that's expanded, right? If we see some current stuff, I mean, it really has taken off, right? Right, Bob?
Yeah, absolutely. They're really expanding that area, and they're working on it. And then, of course, you've got Haunted Mansion, which is, being worked on as well. So there's a lot of things that have been shut down this year. But, they're going to be opening up this year. I'm looking forward to seeing, what they do with Haunted Mansion. They're really starting to come along with that. And, of course, we'll see, I know the rumor is not November for Tiana's Bayou Adventure. So we'll see what happens when that opens up.
Yep, absolutely. I had a tweet that I saw today, and I thought I'd saved it, but I don't see it off the bat right here. But I'm telling you, folks, I believe, Bob, you were on that Park Place actually talking about how there is a need for underground infrastructure surrounding Splash Mountain, and just judging by the construction that we saw in some of the photos that were put out today, it seems like your reporting might be accurate right there, because they have really been expanding the dig site around that area.
Yeah. So one of the things I was talking about with you guys is the fact that the Briar Patch has been a staple, and it was a trading post many, many years ago. And now it's going to become Raised Berets. But as they're trying to update it and convert it, they've taken down the backside, and there's some crazy stench coming from that area, as well as they're having to do a lot of electrical work, which is kind of understandable. I mean, I don't think that area has been worked on a long, long time. But in general, they've been having to deal with a lot of electrical and plumbing and stuff like that. So they're doing a lot of work on there. And I've seen some of the permits regarding some of that work with the electrical. And then, of course, we've got that rumor that I'm still trying to verify that you've got that bridge that goes over Splash Mountain. And so as you go down the final drop and you go underneath, there's kind of like a little bridge that people walk over. Apparently that is not up to code for some reason. And that's something that they need to work on. So again, my sources are telling me this is what's happening, but I have not seen any permits on it, and I haven't gotten any other, information on it other than my actual resources who work for Disney. So we will see, but here's some of the work, and that's where you can see what they're doing and what they're digging out and trying to, work on. It's now some of that also over there is, I think that where you're just showing is where they're going to be putting, I think, isn't that the store where they're going to be putting, wait, is that that's not the Briar Patch area, is it?
It's just adjacent to the Briar Patch area. So This is from the Disneyland Railroad looking into Critter Country. What is it?
Yep.
Eastern facing. And you can see
the Briar Patch right there
that
they're actually working on. So, yep. So that whole area that I was talking about, yeah, that is, it was just hard to see. I was like, where are we coming from? So when they tore down those walls in the back there and whatnot, they were like, what is going on? We've got some issues we need to, solve here. So they're definitely finding that this is taking a little bit longer than they wanted to. And sometimes that's understandable, when you're working on something that, that ride, Splash Mountain, has been a staple for many, many years, been around for a long, long time. And suddenly it's like, oh, we're going to start working and replacing stuff. And, oh, what are we finding here? Water damage, electrical issues, et cetera, et cetera.
Yep.
So,
yeah, lots of that for sure. From what we're both hearing and what we're seeing, with a lot of the permits being filed and so forth. So, definitely something to watch for sure. This is from Matt DH, who says right here, they've dug a lot deeper into the side of the former Splash Mountain. It looks like they're reshaping the base of the mountain, and you can see a shear wall that is about 10 feet high that used to be mountain itself. We're getting closer and closer every day to Jonas by Adventure. I got my Critter Country at Disneyland updates on one trip on Disneyland Railroad today, which is why the video of the backside is stationary, but there's major progress tearing up the walkway, and there's even scaffolding around Winnie the Pooh, the Adventures of Winnie the Pooh. So that's really interesting. I think some of this is related to like the mountain kind of swooped out in some places. Mm-hmm. So they might be wanting to contain that just a little bit, making it a little bit more friendly, maybe possibly for wheelchairs and so forth, or just simple navigation. Just retooling this area a little bit, but I think a lot of these deep trenches that you see right here, that has to be because of some of the stuff that we've been talking about before, because it's kind of consistent with your reporting. So very, very interesting developments around here. But what's very interesting, Bob? We've gotten some breaking news today. And
we do.
It kept happening, and I was constantly texting Jonas like, Jonas, another story. Look at this, But here we go. Well, we're gonna start a little bit dour, and then we're gonna slowly, increase morale as we go along. Right here, I honestly, we do hate covering layoffs for anybody. I understand some people have some real big problems with the Walt Disney Company right now. I get it, I understand, but it always is unfortunate to see anybody lose their jobs. Here we go from the Hollywood Reporter: major Pixar layoffs, long expected, now underway in restructuring. Exclusive. Roughly 14% of the workforce is cut as part of the Disney company's wide cost-cutting measures. The move is the biggest reduction in Pixar's history. We did get glimpses of what this would entail earlier in the year, so it's kind of a continuation of that story, and now these layoffs are currently underway. And what's really kind of fascinating about this is that this is right before Inside Out 2 actually premieres, and it's supposed to be a big release for the studio. Obviously, it's a big release for Disney in their somewhat kind of paltry 2024 slate. And so I am kind of surprised that in the lead up to this movie coming out, the tracking that has been, honestly, it's been superseding my expectations here. Pixar Inside Out 2's early tracking to earn 82 115 million on its domestic box office opening weekend, potentially becoming the highest opening of the year. All good things, or at least better than I expected. I'm not expecting much from this film right here. I'm just so surprised that even in light of that relatively good news, they'd still go forward with this, and especially now. Bob, what do you think about all this?
Well, many people don't know this, but my background is in HR. I've been doing it for many, many years. And so when I see things like this happening, to me, it's not a shock. Obviously, it's sad to see that, I don't like seeing anyone get laid off. It's unfortunate. But unfortunately, Pixar films have not been doing very well, in the last several movies they've done.
That's an understatement right there.
Yeah, so I could see why that is happening. If you're wondering why are they doing this right before a major film comes out, well, I mean, the true fact of the matter is the film is done. The major people who have worked on it, are finished with the film.
Right.
And so before they move, while they're working on the next films, the people that they don't need, they're going to let go right now. So it's understandable they're doing it this time. It just seems weird to most people because it's like, why would you do that? You're going to have this major film come off. Well, they don't really need them anymore. So now it's time to cut it and to move on. 14%. It's not huge, 175 people, but at the same time, it's 175 people. It's awful to hear. So I'm not thrilled about seeing this happen, but at the same time, what they're going to do, just like any company does, they lay off, they restructure, and then eventually things go well. They start hiring again, and then unfortunately, it eventually repeats itself after time. One thing I've learned from working for many corporations that that's what happens, and especially when you start merging other companies and whatnot. And obviously they're not merging with Pixar or anything. That's something that's already been here. But when companies start merging, like they did with 20th Century Fox, obviously things like that start taking effect and hold on the company, and eventually they've got to start making cuts somewhere. So
I guess you're right. It's a fair point. I mean, the film technically is in the can, and if they're reducing the output at the studios, then it does make sense to reduce the amount of staff that you have working on this. It's unfortunate. I just wonder what's going to happen to the Burbank studios, to be honest with you. The Burbank Animation Studios, that is, because we know that they're now producing Moana 2 in Canada, and I just wonder what is going to happen to some of these domestic animators in light of the slowdown in terms of economic performance of these films in theaters, and also the slowdown of content generally. But it's really going to be interesting to see. I don't know. Did you see also too, John Musker had some words about the studio and how it may have lost its way? I don't know if you saw that, Bob.
Yeah, I saw a little piece on it, and I thought that was kind of interesting. But if you think about it, Pixar, the films that they used to produce and come out with were very high-end films, and they really strive to give you, good storytelling with good quality animation, and they were great. And yeah, I mean, there's always been one or two that aren't so great, but majority of their films have always been wonderful. But unfortunately, it seems like as they've been moving on, they are not doing as well, and for good reason. There are some reasons why. I know he's talking about going woke and things like that, but unfortunately, they just I think the thing is that some of the people think, well, here's what we want to show the people instead of here's what the people want to see, and that's unfortunate, because then you start losing your audience, and that's what's starting to happen with some of the Pixar films.
Yeah, I suppose so. This comes from John F. Trent on That Park Place, doing a great job over there. We just saw him actually on the Pro Show just a little while ago, so there you go right there. If you want to get more of him, I'll just hit the replay on that, and you'll be good after this show, of course, and after you subscribe, to Bear Place 28, by the way. But here on That Park Place right here, Disney legend John Musker lampoons Disney for going woke. They need to do a course correction. He actually talks about it pretty openly right here. Now, if you're not familiar with John Musker's work, he has him along with Ron Clements were the directing duo that pretty much animated your childhood if you're watching this show. So Aladdin, Little Mermaid, what is it, Moana itself, Prince and the Frog, all kinds of stuff. Just really helped launch that great Disney Renaissance that we experienced in the 90s, and even continued beyond that, which was interesting. I had the pleasure of sitting behind these two gentlemen at Disney Legends ceremony in 2011. That was really cool. That was pretty awesome.
That's awesome.
Yeah, to see that. But always been a fan of John Musker and his work right here. It's been interesting to see a movie adapted. I'm sorry, a attraction adapted from the movie that John Musker was intimately a part of in the form of Tiana's Bay Adventure a la Princess and the Frog, and not have him referenced. I always thought that was weird. Well, maybe we know why. Here we go. In an interview with the Spanish outlet El País, Musker commented on his work with Prince and the Frog, quote, "We weren't trying to be woke, although I understand the criticism. The classic Disney films didn't start out trying to have a message. They wanted to get involved in the characters and the story and the world, and I think that's still the heart of it." And I do have to agree. That's the definitely takeaway that you get from those animated films right there. I mean, they really want to tell a story. And honestly, I think that reflected in the attractions as well, and maybe something that's missing now. He added, "You don't have to exclude agendas, but you have to create characters who you sympathize with and who are compelling." Next, Musker declared, "I think they need to do a course correction a bit in terms of putting the message secondary behind entertainment and compelling story and engaging characters." He continues right here. "Companies are always like, how do we reduce our risk? They like this, right? We'll just do it again and sell it to them in a different form." Or they think, well, we could make it better. Yeah, I mean, it's a shame. This article goes on to elaborate on some of his comments and thoughts as connected to some of the live action films that Disney's produced right here. So you got to go over to that Park Place, check out the rest of this article and his comments. And I'm sure we're going to have more coverage of this on That Park Place, the YouTube channel. So definitely check that out as well. But Bob, your takeaways?
Yeah, so real quick, and I think one of the things that is really important, you and I had a discussion about this, over the weekend, and basically, the Story Matters team has kind of taken over for Disney,
Yeah.
and so obviously, their program, is trying to, basically, they're looking at all the different types of stereotypes that went wrong with their movies and the mistreatment of people and cultures, the negative depiction of those people. And I think the thing is that they have this group that is looking at all their films and they're trying to make changes to the company as well as to the current films that they have and trying to apologize for those. And I don't think there's apologies that really need to be made. I mean, these films like Aristocats and Dumbo and Peter Pan and Swiss Family Robinson, these were all made many, many years ago. And I don't, while they may have some things that do not depict what this Story Matters team thinks is appropriate for today's society, at the same time, they're either trying to cover things up, change things, or modify. And then not only are they doing that with the past films, but they're also trying to do it with the current films. And as long as they have this advisory council with them to make these changes, because it's a bunch of third-party, council members who are part of this group, I think we're going to have issues with the films at Disney. And look, I'm all for having diverse films, but at the same time, what happened to just good storytelling and good characters? And you can do that without having to focus on just DEI stuff. So my concern right now with the Walt Disney Company, as far as their films, is they're letting this part of the organization, the Story Matters team, really take more effect of the films than they probably should. And as long as they continue to do that, well, then they're going to have issues. Now, I'm not going to say that all the things are going to come out with are horrible, terrible. No, I'm a Disney fan at heart. I always will be. But at the same time, I want to see them do well, and I want to see those things. My whole connection too is the fact that I've got a young daughter, and so like I did as a kid. Obviously, that's not happening as much, but I will take her to see the films I think are appropriate and that I think are good, and I'm going to continue to show her all the great films that Disney did before he passed away, and even the Disney films that came out after that time, because I think those are important as well. But as long as they keep focusing, then that's going to be an issue. But I can just cross my fingers and hope that that is not the case with all their entertainment as it comes out.
I think the biggest, I think, oh, okay. So a lot of people will go, well, what does woke mean? Or what does this mean? And look, I'm very careful, folks. I don't use the term woke because I don't use it because, a lot of people do like to go down that route of like, oh, it's a nebulous term. It means anything. You don't know what it means. No. I think it has a clear definition. I think there are people who are purposely attempting to obfuscate and try to say that it doesn't have a definition in order to take down that argument. But I think there is a definition attached to it. It's one of those Supreme Court's I know it when I see it kind of thing, right? But more importantly, this is why I use other terms like a lack of character resonance or a lack of stories that really relate to people out there, agenda, first storytelling, all that, because I think that's really the heart of it, and that's what really kind of takes away from some of these films. Like you said, your daughter Bob, who is awesome, amazing, by the way. Hello there, if she is watching. But I worry obviously about the children of the future when it comes to some of this entertainment, because it's like, well, they can't necessarily change our minds, but they can change the mind of the adolescents or youths who have developing minds and so forth. And obviously that's it. That is where some of these agenda-driven folks would like to have their message really resonate with. My thing though is that it's obviously that's wrong. But two, you are creating artwork or media or entertainment that doesn't really resonate with anybody. And so, even if that was your mission or your goal, you're not even hooking parents. You're not even hooking kids, I would say, with this stuff. And a lot of them are just, I've seen a lot of kids more ambivalent to this stuff than anything else. So it's even in your agenda first mindset, you're not even necessarily effective, but it's really killing these studios. It's really killing the entertainment. Like you said, Bob, these things that we would love to show our kids or love to take our kids to when it comes to the movie theaters and so forth, and have these experiences with this new entertainment in a similar fashion that we experienced back when we were kids. We can't do that anymore. And I think it's really what John Musker is saying right here. But it's really frustrating. And to all the people who say, oh, well, it wasn't because those films were woke in 2023. That's why they did so poorly. It really doesn't matter necessarily about the quality of the films at this point, because the mindset is out there in the zeitgeist that Disney is not producing quality storytelling anymore. It doesn't really matter if they're woke or not. Obviously, if they are, then and if that gets around, then that's not going to necessarily help a film's prospects, I would say. But it's really the quality level that has suffered with these films, and that message, that association, I think is out there, and I think it's really hurt not only Pixar, not only Disney Animation, but also Disney Live Action, Lucasfilm, Marvel, and beyond.
So I see a comment from Otherly Theory saying it's too late for Disney to correct course. They've hit an iceberg and are sinking. So I don't think it's ever. Look, I don't think it's ever too late for people or companies to change. I think that we are in a situation right now where Disney's not doing very well, and their films are going downhill at the moment. Unfortunately, a lot of them. So I think that when things don't go well, they will eventually correct course. And the other thing is too, corporations, they got to answer to the shareholders and whatnot. And I know that there's been a big issue with Peltz trying to get people on the board and whatnot. There are people that want the company to succeed. We want the company to succeed and do well. I think it's a matter of time before that happens. Iger's in this position until the end of 2025, I think. Is that what it is? Or 26? 25.
Well, that's of this recording, Bob.
Right. True.
that's the thing, right?
Anything can happen, right? Obviously, but I think that eventually things will eventually correct course and get back to the way they should be. I know that companies change, society change, but when a company doesn't do well, and I know they haven't been doing well, for the entertainment side, they're doing great for the theme parks, and I think that's what's helping keeping the company afloat, obviously. But it's just a matter of time before they go, okay, we can't keep doing what we're doing, and we need to make some changes and correct that. So I think they can. It's just a matter of time and when and who gets in those positions. So
I agree with you. I don't think they're beyond saving. I wouldn't be here if I did think that, honestly. The goal here, I think, for me, as attached to T3PO and that Park Place and WW Pro and that Park Place network, I'm looking to try to save all these institutions and keep them producing great content that all of us and our children can enjoy for generations to come. But they're not making it easy. Put it that way. And in that spirit right there, we have a couple of super chats before getting on to our next story right here. Garth Webb with a $2 super chat. Thank you so much, by the way, for everybody that has super chatted. That goes for AWM Trends Entertainment TV as well. Thank you so much. Hashtag cancel Disney Plus. Yeah, I mean, a lot of people have been doing that. And, with this password sharing, I mean, I don't know, this password sharing stuff, the whole Hulu integration, we'll have to see what this sports JV is all about. Apparently, we had a KMG on last night's Extra Magic Hours TPP live edition, and he was suggesting that sports JV might just be cable, just on your phone, which is surprising, because I was like, oh, there's the direct to consumer element, right? Like you can pick your sports programming or whatever, maybe rewatch live sports and stuff like that. It doesn't look like it. It seems to be just a mirror of what you actually get on your cable TV package, which was surprising. So we'll have to see on this right here. WW Pro with the $3 super chat. Thank you so much, Pro. I really do appreciate it. Money in the tip jar to show appreciation. Vash, thank you so much for that. And look, you don't have to necessarily tip us, bro. You already showed your appreciation by redirecting to this stream and having everybody enjoy what we're talking about here. So, but thank you so much, bro. Thank you so much. And to everybody who has given anything towards T3PO, really do appreciate that for sure. Let's see right here. We do have another story. And again, this is also breaking. And because I love it so much, you know what, Bob? Go play it again.
True.
Yeah, right. I got to. My brother animated that, and I'd be remiss if I didn't play it when we do have breaking news. And we sure do have a scoop for you. This was messaged to me by a couple of people. I believe you also did, Bob. And I want to get the name of the person who actually sent me this, because you know what? I feel that it is very appropriate right there. And as soon as I find it, I'll tell you all what that is right here. It is Epic Berserker on Twitter. Thank you so much for that. Hollywood Reporter exclusive. Disney's Club 33 getting movie treatment from Goosebumps writer Darren Lemke, right? It's Lemke.
Okay.
We're going to go with that day. If anybody has a correct pronunciation, go ahead and put it in the chat. And we'll see if we can say that phonetically right there. Sean Levy's 21 Laps. This is exclusive right here. Disneyland's private dining club is located near the Pirates of the Caribbean ride, which helped launch the theme park to screen pipeline in the early 2000s right here. That is true. In fact, though, I believe the first live action attraction, what is it, conversion, or if you want to call it, wasn't that the Country Bears back in the day, or am I getting that wrong?
Yeah, technically. Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. So, I would be remiss if we didn't actually tell the full history here on T3PO. Okay. And, man, yeah. That's for sure. Private Disney club is going public, like big screen public. Okay, this is really, really interesting. I definitely want to get your take on this, Bob. Let me go ahead and get through the copy right here. Club 33, the exclusive dining club inside Disneyland, is getting the movie treatment. Darren Lemke, who has worked on such family films as Goosebumps starring Jack Black and Shazam, has been tapped to pen the script set in the fantastical world about the club. Deadpool and Wolverine director Sean Levy, Dan Levine, Dan Cohen, and are producing through 21 Laps Entertainment, the prolific banner behind Stranger Things and the recent, can't say that on YouTube, drama, All the Light We Cannot See. The project is said to exude the tone and vibes of Clue, and then at the museum, Levy's own fantasy adventure trilogy set in a museum and featuring exhibits and historical figures that come to life. For Club 33, the story centers on Kim, a young aspiring detective living in present-day New York who received a mysterious invite to a highly secretive Club 33. In this case, it's a magical and exclusive dining club that exists outside of time and space. The club's members are the greatest and most iconic members from the past. Geniuses royalty, and history makers. When a murder is committed on the premises, the patrons look to Kim to solve it. Bob, what do you think about all this?
So I got to tell you, when my friend sent this to me, I was like, "Oh, hey, they're doing another what? They're doing Club 33." I'm like, "Okay, do they run out of ideas that they're moving to Club 33 instead of one of their other rides or attractions?" But the thing is, not a lot of people have been Club 33. I had the pleasure of going last year. I really like it. There's a lot of mystery and air about that place because a lot of people have not been to it. So I think them coming up with an idea of, hey, we can do a movie on Club 33. No one knows much about it, so, or what it looks like, although there's plenty of pictures. And we can, do this movie and we could make it different. We'll do some fantastical, magical thing with it. And then, hey, let's make it a movie detective movie about a murder. And I got to be honest with you, the more and more I read, the more and more I went, really? Oh, that sounds like a great idea. So with that, hey, I guess I'm glad to see that at least some decent filmmakers are behind it, but I guess time will tell, and we'll see how it is when it does come out.
Yeah, this is really unusual, and yeah, Rogue Attraction comes in here. Isn't making a movie about an elite Disney thing tone deaf? Yeah, that was the first reaction that actually my mother had to this story as we were talking about this a little bit earlier today. She was like, "Wait a minute, hang on here. This is the most exclusive club in Southern California." And some parts of the country right here. Why are you making a film about something that is so exclusive that you have no chance to join into it? Like, that is a weird thing. And look, guys, first of all, you have to be on like a 5 to 10 year waiting list to even get in to be able to take part into the club itself. And those dues that you have to pay, even while on the waiting list, I think exceed $10,000, and I think it's up to like $22,000 a year to be part of this club. Okay,
it is.
Know some folks who have who are part of this. You're not getting them, folks. You're just not. I'm just gonna put it out there. So to put out something that highlights this and was exclusively so secretive is really interesting. Now, they have expanded the Club 33 program to incorporate all of the Disney theme parks, at least domestically. So there is a Club 33 location in Magic Kingdom, Disney's Animal Kingdom, Disney Television Studios, and Epcot. So there are Club 33 locations in all of those parks, and I believe there's also the Disney California Adventure location. It's called what is it? Is it 21
Royal Street?
21 Royal Street. Or wait a minute, I thought 21 Royal Street wasn't that the name of the Royal? Upstairs?
That's upstairs.
That was the name of the upstairs. Yeah, the upstairs exclusive dining location that's above Pirates of the Caribbean that still hasn't been reactivated as far as I know. No, it was there's a name for it. Anyway, it's in DC as well. So maybe you can get in via those methods. I really have no idea. This is a very bizarre thing to theme something around. Now, I will say this. Oh, go ahead, Bob.
Yeah. Well, once you say your piece, then I'll go into my little triad.
Okay. Well, so the Night at the Museum thing actually sounds very similar to a concept that I heard. I think this was like 10 years ago. Jon Favreau was looking to create a film surrounding Disney's Magic Kingdom, so Castle Park, whether it be Disneyland and Magic Kingdom and Walt Disney World, or maybe an amalgamation of the two, I'm not sure. But he did actually tour Disneyland and the Magic Kingdom, I believe, in order to get some to do some research for that film. And the idea was that it was going to be a Night at the Museum concept, but with the audio animatronics themselves out of attractions like Haunted Mansion and Pirates of the Caribbean coming to life and kind of taking over the park. And I believe maybe somebody was locked in the gates, overnight, and all these shenanigans happen, and it's really, really cool. That was a cool concept, right? Awesome stuff. And he was working on it for a while there, Jon Favreau, but obviously, Marvel MCU stuff kind of hit off, and the Chef, and he kind of went his own way. It at least it sounded like to me. but it looks like they're reviving this idea in a brand new way, and Club 33 looks to be the hook for this. Bob, what do you think about that?
Yeah. So my whole take is, again, I think they're tapping, Sean Levy's, 21, entertainment, just so that they can actually, do something like, Night at the Museum. Although supposedly it's not going to be a Night at the Museum film, but it sounds very much similar. And those films were great. They did really, fairly decently and whatnot. They were fun and fantastical. And it sounds like they're trying to make it this way. But my whole thing is, since Club 33 is such an exclusive club, how about doing a movie actually about how it was created and why it was created, and actually do sort of that type of nonfiction.
That's a better
film.
movie right there,
right? I mean, I would love to see what Walt's and Lily did to create. They went to New Orleans, they bought all this stuff and they brought it back and created this, and there's a reason why they created Club 33, right? Yeah. So I mean, how about the history about that? That's the one thing that's really important to me, is that Disney has a lot of great history, especially Disneyland, where this started. So to me, let's focus on the history. Let's focus on what happened. Share with us what we don't know, and that would be a better film to me.
I actually agree with that. The history of the lore, at least, that has been created surrounding Club 33 could make a fantastic movie. And especially at this later year, or these later years in Walt's life, leading up to obviously his untimely passing, right before the New Orleans Square opening up, right before Pirates of the Caribbean opens up. Obviously, that was he passes away in December of 1966. I believe Pirates of the Caribbean opens in February of 1967, and obviously had ambitions for Epcot and sponsors and so forth. So that could be a really kind of cool movie in which to make. Yeah, I agree with some of the comments as well. This does sound like the C project, or the
SCA.
Yeah, the SCA, which is the secret. It's like the Explorers and Adventurers. What's the S stand for again?
I don't remember. I just remember SCA.
Remember? Oh no, we're
Casual,
in a
throw it in the
bad
chat.
way here. Yeah, exactly. Okay, so it's the Society of Explorers and Adventurers. Yeah. I just thought of it right now. Sorry about that, guys. But it's this kind of concept that's existed in theme park lore. So you got to get really nerdy with this, folks. Sorry, but if you WDI, ever since the Adventurers Club that opened with the opening of Pleasure Island, I believe in the 1990s, they've been kind of playing around with this idea of this secret society of explorers and adventurers that connects certain theme park projects together. So I believe Tokyo Disney Sea's Tower of Terror is part of this whole thing. I think also too Mystic Manor in Hong Kong is part of this, and obviously the Trader Sam's locations both at Disneyland and Walt Disney World are part of this whole thing. So they've been really kind of highlighting this with some of their new additions. I think the Treehouse is also part of this as well. Disneyland's Adventureland Treehouse, inspired by Sister Robinson, which is that's quite the name. But those are also better concepts, and it looks like they're incorporating some of that into this. So when I read that description right there, it sounds like it's like, okay, we're taking like some secret, secret society concepts from that. Looks like we're using a little bit of Night at the Museum, kind of Jon Favreau's project, and kind of creating this brew here that might work or it might not work. I think that was the thing that kind of got Jungle Cruise off course. It was a little bit too fantastical, and so it didn't quite work. It didn't quite stick the landing as well as I think people had hoped. So, okay, this is a project we'll have to watch out for. Just because something is in the pipeline doesn't mean we'll ever actually see it. And there have been plenty of these kind of concepts that have made their way throughout the years. So there you go. Before we get to our next story right here, I want to go ahead and hit up some super chats because we had a couple of people with some comments on this. So let's go ahead and get to them right now. This here from Olaf, one of our amazing mods, by the way, as part of the mod squad. Thank you so much, Olaf, for everything that you do right here with a €2 super chat. It looks like press the like button, subscribe, and share T3PO on the 2K. Thank you so much, good sir, for providing that. I do appreciate it. Yes, hit that like button. It really does help us out tremendously. Space Day 2000 with the Canadian $2. T3PO memberships coming soon. Oh man, not this whole thing again. So, Bob, I don't know if you're aware, but on that Park Place, we wanted to do a membership program on that channel for sure. And I was in communication with Jonas and Pro to try to get those memberships and those tiers and so forth handled. But again, we were at a point of starting this whole thing up that we were just, traveling a mile a minute. And so we could never quite agree on some things. And obviously we delayed a little bit, and Jonas kind of played around with it a little bit. Said, well, if we hit 10,000, then we'll really kind of circle back onto that. And well, we just exceeded our goal way faster than any of us thought possible. So it's been kind of a running joke on the Fat Park Place network about memberships. We will have memberships, folks, on T3PO. We absolutely will. We just have to pick a time in which to do that, not to kick the can down the road like we did before. But we really want to provide you something special on this channel right here. Part of that's going to be exclusive questions for Hollywood Backlot with Lou and you. We have exclusive content that we want to provide for you guys. It's going to be a lot of fun, but that is in the workspace, Dave. Don't even worry about that. But I'd be remiss to not bring up this super chat from Disney Fan 55, $10. Thank you, Mom. Do appreciate this one for sure. Club 33 is a very exclusive club that has a 10-year waiting list to join. Most people aren't aware of it. A movie about Club 33 is like shoving it in your face because most people can't go. Yeah, I have similar thoughts about that. It's just a weird thing to make this so front and center because your hopes of ever joining it are almost non-existent, folks. Even if you have the money, it's very, very difficult to get into this venue. Bob, I thought I was looking at you and I thought you had some comments here. I do apologize.
No, I don't have any comments. I was just agreeing with you and shaking my head. So right. Okay. Yeah, it's one of those things. I don't know. I don't like it. It feels icky to me. But say la vie, I guess that's what it is. And what it has been for the last few years as the parks have been maybe they've been over-earning in that sector, as Nelson Peltz would put it. But speaking of that, we got to get to the top of the top story of the show right here. Let's see. So we have talked about on the various networks that Bob Iger has attended the recent MoffettNathanson Conference in New York. I believe it's like the telecommunications conference. I don't know. It's got a big name. It's official. And Bob Iger spoke at it and gave a lot of insight into the business, their thought process at the Walt Disney Company. Yes, the MoffettNathanson Media, Internet, and Communications Conference. Okay. It was webcast. Jonas listened to it. He took notes. I don't know if any of you guys, have heard that, but yes, we did. We have been covering it. The one aspect, though, that we haven't covered, and yes, we did cover this whole we invested too much, and that's kind of part of the story right here, because they've been taking, for a lot of years now, they've been taking the profits and the revenue generated from the parks and have been taking that sum and been throwing it towards their DTC division at the park's expense. Now, obviously, that's caught up with them a little bit, and now they're really committed to investing more in the parks, which is good. So what does that mean for the future of the Disney parks? Well, we have a source, of all places, DFB guide. I don't know. I mean, hey, I always thought they were just food, but they've been expanding out recently, and they had the best coverage on this. I'm sorry. They had the most comprehensive article on this. I don't know. Brian
The Pozo, looks like the author right here, Bob Iger confirmed all future Disney Parks projects will be IP based. Not entirely surprising. Bob Iger has been very averse in years past towards original attractions. And this goes back, I think he even writes about it in his book, but this goes back to the opening of Expedition Everest at, Disney's Animal Kingdom, right? Mm-hmm. This big Joe Rohde-led project. I think they spent like $200 million on this thing. Maybe I have that my math wrong. Maybe it was $100 million. Anyway, it was hundreds of millions of dollars that the company invested in this thing. It was a big, ambitious project, led to a lot of great things for Disney's Animal Kingdom, and really provide them the signature e-ticket that they sorely needed for that park. Mm-hmm. Anyway, all this big hoopla that opens in, I think, 2005, 2006, right as Bob Iger's coming in, and Bob Iger looks at this thing and goes, "We spent how much on something that wasn't themed to our IP?" He really does believe in leveraging the unique brands and franchises. And you can see this throughout, the entire ecosystem of the Disney company, right? So whether it's Disney Plus, whether it's, ESPN, the flywheel, any comments on that, you can see how they want to leverage the brands. So they want to push the brands. They want to push the franchises. They want to, we're getting a huge slew of sequels, for example, right? From like Frozen, Moana, all that. It's all about leveraging that amazing IP, some of it that they use company funds to pay for. I get it. I understand. But a lot of people have been disappointed in the fact that, well, we aren't getting those original concepts like we've had in the past, even under the Michael Eisner years. So like Pirates of the Caribbean, Haunted Mansion, Big Thunder, not Splash Mountain, but Space Mountain. All of these things that were created by WDI that have become franchises unto themselves with the passage of time, we're just no longer investing into those things. And a lot of people have been disappointed. Bob, how do you feel about this? I actually don't know your thoughts on this. Do you like the fact that they are focusing almost solely on franchises, or would you like a balance, or would you like just original attractions? What do you think?
I think original attractions do help. And I prefer, if you think about it, a lot of the attractions that did come out in Disneyland, like the Matterhorn, Space Mountain, and all the ones you just mentioned, these were all great original ideas. And like you said, they've become franchises themselves. And that's why they've made movies about some of these things. But at the same time, I have no problems with, focusing on IP based rides and attractions. Some of them are great and I love them. And we get some really good rides out of them. And sometimes, they're just okay. But most of the time, I think the Imagineers do a good job. So I don't really have a problem, but I would like to see something new and different coming out. Now, obviously, we have, the Avatar Pandora over in Walt Disney World. Now they're talking about doing the Avatar Land over here. Originally it was going to be some experience, which we had no idea what it was. Now they're talking about doing it over here. So hopefully do something new and interesting that they didn't do before. That would be really cool if they did. But I have no idea what, it's going to be like, because they really haven't gone into detail. And if they want to intermix that with, some of the things I talked about, like I will tell you, and now this is Tokyo, obviously, but Disney Springs is getting ready to open up in 20 days or something like that. And the way they've used the IPs over there are amazing. Now I know that, that's a separate company over there that's building it. But, Disney has done some pretty cool things too with some of the IPs, the Pirates of the Caribbean ride over in, Shanghai as well. But look at what they've done over there in Disney Springs, like you're showing right now. They can take IP, based stuff, and they can make some amazing things out of it. So I'm okay with the IP based rides, but hey, let's throw in a non IP based attraction, every once in a while. Because I think that's important too. And I also think it's important to make sure that we choose the right IP attractions. Like I'm going to use Galaxy's Edge, for example. Galaxy's Edge, I like Galaxy's Edge, but I think if they'd focus on, the original trilogy instead of the sequel films, I think it would have done a lot better. So it just depends on what they do and how they do it. But clearly here in Disney Springs, they did an amazing job. I can't wait to see more. These are just pictures and some little videos we've been seeing. I think it's going to be a lot better, than even more fantastical than what we've seen so far.
Yes, I think you definitely have some storytellers that have been able to leverage brands effectively, especially in the form of Fantasy Springs. Some of that stuff is just phenomenal.
Right.
And look, I mean, these are big theme park investments right here, and not all of them are for sure thing. In fact, even in the form of Fantasy Springs, Forbes just Caroline Reed doing the work right here. Just wrote a piece. Tokyo Disney forecast attendance this year will be down 11% despite a $2 billion expansion. That's crazy how that could be the case. But I think there are other economic issues at play right there that have been impacting this. It just goes to show you that even IP based stuff doesn't necessarily mean that these investments will pay off. So I understand the mentality of maximizing the potential for return on investment through franchises that have already been proven successes, right? That it's a risk to throw hundreds of millions of dollars potentially towards concepts that might not necessarily be appealing to the public, or that people won't necessarily book vacation packages for. So it's like, okay, I get that, but you lose out on a lot of creative content that you could be producing. For example, and people are like, well, what do you do in the case of highly themed lands and so forth, like Star Wars Galaxy's Edge and Avatar? It's like, well, wait a minute, we had highly themed lands that weren't necessarily based on any one IP, but that incorporated ideas from the Imagineers and some of these amazing creatives, like Discovery Bay, which I was going to take the place of where Star Wars Galaxy's Edge was eventually built. That was just an incredible concept, an incredible, amazing idea for a themed land. It was kind of like this Western Jules Vernean place for adventurous explorers and ventures and so forth. Really leaned into the Western steampunk aesthetic. This was back in the 70s that Tony Baxter had plans to do this at Disneyland. We obviously had some of those ideas incorporated into Tokyo Disney Sea and some of the other theme parks around the world, which is great. But it's like, yeah, we can do immersive lands if you want that to be original, and they had the benefit of not only being original, but also being flexible enough to incorporate attractions in the future, original or not. So I don't know. I mean, and it's so funny because I talk to people who have armchair Imagineer, and it's like, well, I have plans to do this and that, and they always go to IP based things, even though they themselves might be against the idea of only restricting WDI's creative output to IP based franchises or concepts. So that's kind of an interesting thing as well. Bob, you looked like you were going to get ready to say something there.
Yeah. So, well, if you think about it, I mean, there's been a lot of, theme parks, and Universal's been doing it with a lot of IPs and creating some amazing rides and attractions, with Harry Potter, etc. So you can definitely create some amazing stuff with IP. So there's nothing wrong with it. But again, I just think that if we could just bring out some new and ingenuitive type, rides and attractions, that is what helps me go, hey, I'm going to go check that place out. Let's see what they're like.
Right.
And go there. But yeah, I mean, you just don't see things like Country Bear Jamboree, right? Yes, it's over Walt Disney World. We don't have it at Disneyland anymore, but things like that. I mean, I would love to see more shows and attractions that are just original. And so when you come up with these things, I think it spurs imagination. I think it spurs, interest. And that's the thing that, you want to do. And you can still do some IP stuff, intermix, but let's mix it up a little bit.
But that's the kind of funny thing, because we referenced Country Bear Jamboree before, right? And it became a franchise unto itself that they eventually turned into a film. Not a very good film, but that's
True.
kind of the power that some of these original concepts can have over time. And it is unfortunate that we've gone away from this. I think there is value in original attractions for sure, but I also recognize it's like, when you are selling a vacation package to somebody and you can say, hey, we have a new Moana attraction versus, well, we have a new Polynesian volcano attraction. that instant reaction that you get from people by highlighting an IP. That there is value in that, and I recognize that, and it's just unfortunate that the modern theme park industry, especially the ones backed by big studios like Universal, obviously, or Disney, have kind of leaned into these franchises. But you do see some really creative and interesting stuff from other theme park proprietors, like Knott's Berry Farm, for example, who don't have necessarily access to IP, but they kind of have their own creative powerhouse inside there. So I'm at least thankful for that. But we'll go ahead and examine Bob Iger's comments more closely, but let's go ahead and get some super chats out of the way before we actually do that. Packing Protons with a $5 super chat. Thank you so much, sir. You have been so very kind in all of our networks. Thank you very much for that. That's a bad idea, Bob. If your IP stinks, no one will go to the parks to see stuff based on it. Yeah, that's now. Here's the thing, Packing. We're gonna go over Bob Iger's comments and see exactly what he mentions. But take note of the age of some of these franchises. As we'll go with the next super chat right here, it's not necessarily anything new, okay? They've got some age to them. And here we go. Captain John D. I would be remiss if I didn't actually play his sounder right here. Let me see if I can find it. Oh, here we go. Captain John D with a $20 super chat. Thank you so much, sir. I'm going to be calling you later, by the way, so make sure your phone is on for that call, because we got to catch up. But I can't wait for the new groundbreaking attraction based on Strange World. Go, Bob. Great on the channel, Vash. Yeah. You're gonna have to hold your breath on those Strange World attractions. I don't think we're gonna get those anytime soon. I mean, what happens to the flywheel when you can't produce content for it? And so if you're going with an almost all IP based strategy or mentality going forward, you could get into trouble if you do have problems at the studio division creating content that really resonates with guests, with viewers, and people want to see. So here we go. We have a transcript of his comments right here. By the way, thank you so much, Captain RD, for that super chat. Thank you. At this MoffettNathanson conference, being interviewed by Michael Nathanson, he says he kind of sets him up for the flywheel and the parks and so forth. Bob Iger says this. And I think if you don't mind, when I come back and I settled in and we recognized the company and we really focused on what our most critical needs were, but also what our most critical opportunities were, which is very tied to the flywheel. One was turning the movie studio around. They had been in a period that was not nearly as successful as it had been and as it needed to be to serve the so-called flywheel well. And I really feel great about that, and I'll be more specific. Okay, so he talks about that. And then he says the third was, which is tied to the flywheel, is I looked at the return on invested capital in our parks and resorts unit over my tenure, really, and it was extraordinary. Okay, couple of problems with this. One, yes, the studio division was turned around, I will say, under Bob Iger's direction initially. That very much indeed happened. However, as time has gone on, the investments of Marvel, the investments of Lucasfilm, even Pixar, well, they haven't been faring all that well lately. And Bob Iger has been here, albeit maybe a year or two. He's been at the helm, especially at the creative side, on all of this. Okay, so yes, did he serve a purpose? For sure in the first 10 years? Absolutely. And I would say that this company was taken to heights never previously dreamt of. But this idea that it's all worked out similarly from that point, I don't even think that he would necessarily admit to that. But also too, his park investment stuff. Look at the Michael Eisner years in terms of park investment and the amount of new parks that we got. I'm not even talking about park investments. I'm talking about theme parks themselves. Michael Eisner came in, and I believe there was only 3 theme parks in existence, right? Magic Kingdom, Epcot, Disneyland. Right? When he left, we had 11 theme parks. So Disneyland Paris, the Walt Disney Studios Park in Paris, now It's Disney Adventure World. Is that what we're going with? Okay.
Yep.
All right.
Adventure
Well,
World.
there you go, folks. We have Hong Kong Disneyland. We have Tokyo Disneyland, Tokyo Disney Sea. But that was kind of in the process before Michael Eisner, and obviously, okay, we can take those two off the list. All right, fine, sure. But we still have 9. So Disney's Animal Kingdom, Disney's Hollywood Studios, Disney California Adventure. The amazing amount of theme park investment over his tenure was phenomenal, especially in Walt Disney World. I mean, he took that resort from what I think it had like maybe 3 resort hotels, and now it has over 45,000 rooms, majority of which were built under his tenure specifically. And so, if Bob Iger wants to say that he's invested capital commensurate with their levels previously, or even attempting to associate himself with previous regimes and their investments, or comparing himself to them, that's a joke. I'm just going to be flat out honest. Now, there have been great stuff under the Iger admin. There's no question about that. Avatar is great. Cars Land's great. The relaunch of California Adventure is awesome, right? But there have been some lean years under Iger as well. Or am I off base, Bob?
Yep. There have definitely been some lean years. That's for sure. Terrible.
It indeed. And it's I don't know why he's been so averse to parks, and he's still adverse to parks, really. Yeah, $60 billion, great, awesome. How much did you spend last quarter, Bob? What is it? Oh, 200 million more? Okay, yeah. Are you serious or are you not serious? We'll see. We'll see.
I think one of the things they've been doing too, and not to focus on Disneyland, but they've been waiting to see what's going to happen with Disneyland Forward and whatnot. Obviously, the theme parks are the ones that are doing the most money for the company. But yeah, it seems like they have been really lacking with, they're like, oh, well, this has just been making money for us and we keep raising prices, so we'll just keep doing it. And that has been their cash cow for the company. But unfortunately, when it comes to entertainment and for really expanding or trying to, improve upon the parks or do what they need to do to make the parks even better, it's been a little lacking. I think we're going to see a lot of change, though, in the next several years, leading up to the Olympics, as well as, with Disneyland Forward. We're going to see a lot more change. And I think he'll be investing a little bit more money, and then we'll see who ends up taking over his place, because obviously that person will, we'll see what their idea of culture at the company is and what they want to do. So I think it might be a little different. Let's see what
they might have on the mind right now. And I do want to go back to that as well, Bob. That's a very interesting conversation for sure as well right there. By the way, folks, don't touch that dial. Mr. H Reviews is coming up next, and you'll be automatically redirected towards that show. So stick around for sure. You want to definitely take note of this conversation, but you'll be magically transported. Let me see if I have. Is that the? Nope, not that one. It is this one. 2 Mr. H Reviews upon the opening of that show. So stay tuned for sure. Now on the flywheel, we were just in Shanghai a couple of weeks ago. This is Bob Iger here. It was my 50th trip to China, by the way. So I got feted with a cake, okay, which I really didn't need. But it was my second visit since we opened Zootopia Land. Now, Zootopia was the #1 animated movie in China. And so we decided, 5 or so years ago, in thinking about what we would invest in Shanghai in terms of IP, why not lean into Zootopia, which is a popular film. We built a huge land there. It's tremendous, and the success is, I can't really describe it. But almost like 90% of the people who show up are aware that Zootopia is there. We've built a big enough land. So we're serving, and I think about 50% of the people who visit actually go through Zootopia Land. It's been a great example of that flywheel. Now, does that mean Zootopia is coming to the States? Maybe. We'll see. If you look at terms of the films that we have coming up, which include Moana in November, where we're starting to lean into those investments in the parks for that IP, also happened to have been the #1 stream movie in America across all streaming platforms last year, and that film came out in 2016. Again, folks, the dates, they're crucial, they're important. This does speak to a lot of different things here. Obviously, we're leaning into more Star Wars. We have a Mandalorian film, the end of 2026. Toy Story film, all of that. He talks about IPs. Interesting enough, if you analyze carefully how we achieve those returns on invested capital in the parks, it was all about the IP. So for quite a long time, new attractions and lands in the parks were based on essentially either very old IP or no IP, just an attraction. And starting really with Cars Land and Toy Story, there are a few others, I can't remember all the specifics, we decided that almost all of our investment in the parks in terms of attractions and lands would be using that IP. And it's been very, very clear what that delivers. What is he talking about when he says essentially very old IP or no IP? He's talking about, folks, Big Thunder Mountain Railroad. He's talking about Jungle Cruise. He's talking about Space Mountain. He's talking about Haunted Mansion, Pirates of the Caribbean. Also, too, remember, he had a bad taste in his mouth from the Expedition Everest experience. That's what he's talking about, and that's why he's so committed to leveraging this stuff. And so, folks, if you're hoping to ride something, from the minds of Tony Baxter or Joe Rohde, at least under this regime and probably the next, that's all in the rearview mirror.
Mm-hmm. Well, I will say that, and I know this was not part of Bob Iger years, but, when DCA came out, it was a great concept, a great idea, but obviously, very flawed. And they realized that, they didn't have enough IP attractions in the park for people to like or enjoy. And so that's why they decided to, add Pixar and develop the land. And they've added so many more IPs related to Disney. And obviously it's helped out. And maybe Bob Iger is afraid of, that happening under his tenure where, he is going to, be known for, hey, we come out with all this new IP. It doesn't go over well. Well, that's on me. I want to stick to something that's safe. And again, there's nothing wrong with doing, IP based rides or anything like that. But you got to have a little ingenuity and you got to have a little imagination. That's what made Disneyland what it is. And that's not what they're continuing to do at the moment. They're just doing straight IPs. And again, I'm okay with IPs, but let's have some little imagination and bring some of those rides in like we had with Big Thunder and Matterhorn and Space Mountain and all that stuff.
Some of the stuff, I'll agree to a point with our Gentum here. I really love DCA. It did get better over the years, then it tanked. So I like Buena Vista Street was awesome. Cars Land was phenomenal, and I'll even say some of the Pixar improvements made to like the Paradise Pier area, now Pixar Pier. I think were good. Some of them, not all of them, but some of them. Right, Lamplight Lounge and some of the other things, really, really great stuff for sure. Not questioning that. However, putting in, I don't know, Marvel the way they did, or putting in, let's say, Big Hero 6 the way they did, right, with San Francisco and so forth, those could have been done better, and they chose not to. And unfortunately, those didn't really like highlight those areas and make them beacons of people for people who want to actually experience that IP in that realm. They just kind of slap some nebulous IP onto those areas and then called it a day. And I think does that necessarily is that watering the brand a little bit when you do that, or are you, I don't know, cleverly incorporating IP into these places that were previously not as popular as before? What do you think, Bob?
Yeah, so my daughter and I love Big Hero 6, and it's one of her favorite movies. And when San Francisco opened, yes, you got the iconic bridge, and yes, you've got some of the things up, but there's not a ton of, Big Hero 6 or Baymax stuff going around. And it is a small area, and I get that. But we thought there was going to be a lot more to it. It's still very cool. Love seeing, Baymax there and Hero. Love seeing the little store they have. All the same, restaurants are there. They just kind of, like you said, slap some overlay onto it. But they need to add more to make it feel like more of San Francisco, more like a really cool Big Hero 6 land. And they didn't do that. Like you said, Cars Land is amazing. I like what they did with, all the Pixar stuff. However, Pixar Pier, it's a little gimmicky to me, but I understand how they try to build it in with the Toy Story Mania, and that was cool. So I do enjoy that ride. Even though it's called Incredicoaster now, to me, it's always California Streamin'. I love that ride. Or I said screaming. I'm thinking about streaming here. So, it's okay. I mean, obviously, they definitely changed, like Monsters Inc. That is a lot better ride than what they had before with Whoopi Goldberg taking it through Hollywood. I mean, that was a disaster and it was horrible. And same with the movie. I guess it was Whoopi Goldberg thing again. They had the movie of California. They turned that into Little Mermaid ride, and it was a much better attraction. So there are definitely some things that they did.
I do. I get you. Sorry. You were saying, yeah, Little Mermaid. Yeah. No, I agree with you. Little Mermaid better than. I will say that was the thesis attraction at the park, so I'm a little bit down that at least they couldn't incorporate that somewhere else. But I get it. I understand. Much better attraction, or to replace a theater show experience with an attraction in general, like a ride through Little Mermaid. Much better for sure, no question. It's just you can go south with this stuff. You can execute IP very, very well, and to the excitement or reach the excitement expectations of fans. It's unfortunate because DCA, at least in recent years, hasn't lived up to that, and that really is sad. But c'est la vie. Hopefully with a $60 billion investment, all of these things will come back around, as they say. We will see right there. Let's go ahead and get this one last super chat right here. Uncle Salty told me with a $2 super chat. Thank you so much right there. Love knots, boysenberries, and fried chicken.
Oh, I do too.
Bear Place 28. That's right up your alley, right?
Yep. I love going there, and they just ended the Boysenberry Festival. It was great, and the food is always wonderful there. So I agree. I love Knott's. We go there all the time. I live so close by that we visit often. I just don't stream as much because of the hours. They don't stay open as late, unfortunately. But it definitely has some great ingenuity and some awesome, imaginative rides. 80s man was asking, is Montezuma's Revenge still there? Yes, it is, but they actually had some issues with redoing the ride, and so it got postponed. They decided they're going to go ahead and redo it. After all, it's now going to be Montezuma's The Forbidden Fortress, I believe is what it's called now. So they're reimagining that and recreating it. They just put the loop back in. So, but they have some awesome roller coasters. I mean, Ghost Rider and Silver Bullet and things like that. Granted, it's not as themed throughout the park for some of these rides as Disneyland is, right? But at the same time, they have some really original rides.
Yeah, it's weird. Cedar Fair has not been having the greatest luck recently in retheming old attractions and changing those out. But a story for another time, Bob.
Yes, and real quick, I know we got to get going here, but I did want to say that we haven't heard anything about Cedar Fair and the merger with Six Flags. However, I recently talked to some employees. I had an employee event over at Knott's Berry Farm last week, and the week before, they actually made an announcement to the employees saying it's still going to happen. More to come. They didn't say exactly when it's going to happen, but it's going to happen sometime this year. So more on that story coming up on a future T3PO. There we go.
Oh, yes, and we'll be covering it on T3PO here and also TPP, and it's a story worth covering for sure. We haven't forgotten about it at all. It's just been a little bit slow. By the way, Uncle Salty told me salt must flow. If you know, you know. Bob, what do you got going on? Where can the people find you at home?
So you can always find me at Barry Place 28 on YouTube, on X, Facebook, TikTok. And please come and join me again. I'll be streaming at Disneyland tomorrow night, so please come and join the fun. We're going to be covering Main Street Windows in May, and obviously going around the Rivers of America on the Mark Twain before that goes away. I am going on vacation on Thursday, and I won't be back till Monday, so unfortunately I will not be experiencing Fantasmic, but I will be going sometime next week, probably after the next T3PO show that we have. But that's where you can find me, and I hope you guys will come join me sometime.
Fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. Thank you so much for joining the show today. It's always a pleasure to have you on. I really do enjoy our conversations on here. So this has been really, really cool to not only have these wonderful discussions, but also do it in front of our amazing audience that has been joining us every single week. So thank you so much for that. Before you leave, go ahead and hit the subscribe button on your way out right here. Now, I would say stick around because we're going to redirect you right to Mr. H. But if you do have to leave, well, then there you go right there. It's like that helpful reminder, at the tiki room. If you have to leave right there, just go ahead and press on the door. That's what you do. You just hit that subscribe button. Hit the like button. It does really help us with the YouTube algorithm right there. We are going to be redirecting right now to Mr. H right here, so don't touch that dial. You can find BarryPlays28 at BarryPlays28 on Twitter and on YouTube. Definitely subscribe and check out that. And so long, folks. For next time right here, this has been a presentation of That Park Place Podcasts Online. Thank you so much for joining us, and we will see you all later. Let me see if I can go ahead and do this right here. Oh yeah, here we go.
Bye, everyone.
Right here. Thanks, guys. We'll see you later. Wrong one. We got the right one though. We got the right one. Here we go.